Hey guys, Ultimate here, working on the G, and we are going to be upgrading to a bigger throttle body. Before I throw it in there, let's talk about what a throttle body does, how it works, and why I'm upgrading to a bigger one. Let's begin. So this is our 75mm throttle body. It's bigger than our stock throttle body. When your engine is running, your intake manifold is basically like an oxygen tank. It holds a certain amount of air inside the system, and there's like vacuum lines, like your brake booster, things like that might pull a small vacuum from the intake manifold because it has a large amount of air in it, especially at low RPMs. Now, when you put your foot on the accelerator and this plate opens up more, the engine sucks more of the oxygen out, or it sucks more of the air out of the intake manifold, which causes the pressure to go down. That's fine, but the problem is, as you get really high in RPMs, your engine is trying to provide as much air as flow as possible to the pistons or to the cylinders, and what can happen is a smaller throttle body will start to have a restriction, and you can start to have a cutoff point. On my first dyno I ever did, my stock dyno, my car stopped making horsepower after 5,500 RPM. It seems like that's when the engine with the stock intake system and with the stock throttle body could not make power beyond 5,500 RPM. So by upgrading this size, we're going to be able to change that. And let's talk about what separates the stock throttle body from an aftermarket one, and what's the pros and cons of it. So if you know anything about exhaust systems, you'll know that smaller piping provides better air velocity, where bigger piping provides better airflow. You know, something bigger like a straw or something, the bigger it is better when you're pushing, when you're revving your car high. But having a smaller opening is better for lower RPM driving. This is what your stock throttle body is for. It's to provide good low RPM driving, your daily driver. It has better airflow control. You have better low end torque, and it does a little bit better job with controlling the fuel economy. Now let's talk about where this comes into play and what separates this from the smaller one. What you need to understand is that when you hear a mod say, oh, this gives the car 10 horsepower, 15, 5, wherever the case may be, with like an intake or exhaust, you may notice a increase almost throughout the entire rev range, whereas a throttle body, not so much. You're mostly going to get your high horsepower gains, or mostly your horsepower gains, especially for the G35, I think after about 5,000 RPM. That's when this will start to kind of make a big difference, because what's happening is the smaller throttle body can't provide as much air to the engine like the 75mm throttle body can. So for those of you who are like, well, why do I care about 15 to 2,000 RPMs of power? I'll give you guys an example, a couple examples of where this will really shine when you're driving. So there was a time I was, just on the street racing a Chevy Silverado with the 5.3, a bigger pickup truck, and for the most part we were pretty even until we got to the high RPMs. Most stock engines, like my car now, doesn't the power falls off pretty hard in the high RPMs, whereas this car, whereas in my situation, my car continued to pull harder and harder, and that's where I started to gap the truck. And when we got to the next light, the guy was like, oh my God, dude, your car pulls so hard up top. And that never left my head. When you're in racing situations, being able to stay in the high RPMs, you can start to, obviously pass the person that you're racing, but also if you're on a track or something, where you're constantly staying at those high RPMs, you're gonna really feel the power. You're gonna really enjoy being up top. To talk about some pros and cons, this will give you better throttle response because it's bigger, meaning more air can go inside of it, and it's going to give you that extra high-end horsepower, which is also really important, like I say, for the extra power up top, obviously. Some cons are you may now This is probably designed or probably only expanded big enough that it doesn't really affect low end torque, but you may have a slight drop in low end torque just because this is bigger, which will probably slow air velocity down a little bit. And you might get a little bit less fuel economy, because of this being bigger. Like I said, it changes the air velocity, which could impact low RPM a little bit. Like I said, very tiny, if minuscule, if anything at all. We have an adapter plate because this is bigger. We have hood clearance, so this will like kind of clock it so that it doesn't hit the hood. These are our bolts so that we can bolt this up to the block. Up to the intake manifold. And this is an adapter harness so that this will work. This will still work perfectly fine with the car's ECU. So let us get into the vehicle. Let's get this in. And to start, we're just gonna loosen these clamps up. Kind of quick about it. Like that. Like that. And then here as well. Cool. And now we should be able to just pull this up. We're gonna pull this out as well. Good. And I'm just gonna pull this out just so you guys can see here as well, just to give you guys better visibility. I do have the stilling, so I have to remove this. Open this up. Try and pull this hose out. Come on, baby. There we go. And then wobble this. There we go. And I will leave that tilted downwards. Now, usually this is the point where you disconnect your negative cable, because when you put this in, you want the car to not even realize that this has been removed. But I'm going to show you guys how to do the throttle body relearn anyway, so I'm not going to remove the battery. So disconnect that cable, just push the clip in, and let's see what size hex bits these things take. And now we're just going to, it's 1, it's 2. Be careful, don't strip your stuff. 3 right here. Got a little bit of an extender on it for clearance. It's 3 and 4. It's hard to see, but it's in this little back corner. I usually like to take this one off last because it's so hard to see. I like to take this one off first because it's hard to see it. Just like that. And now I'm gonna remove them. And just like that. This is our stock 70mm throttle body. Throtty body. All right, cool. Let's remove this gasket here. Like that. And surface is nice and clean. Let me get my little scrape tool anyway. And just get this here. Like I said, it's pretty clear. Yep, pretty clean. We got our throttle body. Before we actually throw that on, we have an adapter here. Here we go. If this is adapter you have to put on here. Notice that the gaskets are different sizes. There's a small gasket and a big gasket. Big gasket goes on the throttle body. This goes on the intake manifold. See where the holes got space in it? So it should look like this when it goes in, like that. This has to have this adapter here for hood clearance reasons. By clocking this will make sure that the bigger throttle body doesn't hit the hood. I have the 5/16 plenum spacer. If you have a 5/8 plenum spacer, you may have hood clearance issues. Okay, just want to put that out there. And I have a bolt going through it so that I don't kind of lose its the way it's sitting. And I'm just gonna get it started like this. Yeah, just like that. And I wanted to mention, you have long bolts and short bolts. The short bolts go to the adapter. It's cold out here. I'm trying to move kind of quick. And the secondary gasket should sit like that. There you go. By attaching these two like that, now we don't mess up the way the gasket works. We're just gonna get that in there, and then we'll torque them down once we get them all installed, slightly snug. To give you guys a little bit reminder here, I had it installed improperly. I guess the throttle body wants to kind of cockeye this way a little bit. Use the green gasket to figure out the way it's supposed to be installed. But once you get it in, 7 foot-pounds. That's 1 cross pattern, 2, 3, and 4. I am using a 1/4 inch torque wrench. If you use something bigger, you might strip them out. And also, if you are just one of those people who you tend to make mistakes, the one thing you don't want to do is you don't want to shoot a bolt through here. So if you are concerned, if you're nervous, if you think you're just one of those people that make those kind of mistakes, put a paper towel like this so none of the bolts end up shooting in here and you gotta lift this whole thing up. But now that we got that in, now we can install our 75mm, baby. And she looks like this, and our gasket will sit on here like this. I noticed that the skinny part of the gasket sits upwards. Just like this is how it sits in here. And now I'm gonna get a new bolt and slide it through here. And just so you guys can see, they are both Hitachi. This one is visibly bigger. I know it's probably hard to tell, but you can definitely see the difference in size. And also, this kind of even fits in here a little bit. You can almost fit it inside there. But yeah, this is visibly bigger. This is Hitachi OEM. Let's get it in. Let's switch this out. Let's get this out of here. And notice that the adapter harness is not the same. Okay. And the bolts don't actually completely slide through, so I got it like this, and we're gonna tilt it. Move that sensor back, and we're gonna tilt it like that, and that's how it's gonna go in. I forgot to mention here, do not push in that throttle body. You don't want to throw off the calibration. Let me get my gun on here. Yeah, so there we go. And I'm just lightly installing it for now. Like that. And then I'm gonna get the bottom two in. And here also. Yeah, she's going. Now that they're all in, I'm going to torque these two 7 foot-pounds as well. And 7 foot-pounds again. 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, and that's nice. All right, she's installed. If I didn't mention, remember to put the Hitachi symbol facing up. I don't think you can install it any other way, but just don't do it. All right, and we have to get an adapter on here. This is our adapter. It's gonna snap in like this down here. You should hear that thing click, just like that. And then this plugs into our main harness, just like that. And I'm gonna tuck it downwards. See how I have it facing down, so that it doesn't get in the way of anything. And there's one thing that we have to install here. If you get the 75mm throttle body, you have to get this 75mm coupler, because this is too big. It has to be oversized to fit here. Okay, so now I'm gonna get this on here. Okay, so unfortunately I'm gonna have to trim some of the fat off of this. This may be designed for the stock stuff. I have the Stillen Z tube. So I'm gonna cut some of this off so that we can get this to fit properly. Don't laugh at my cutting game. I know it sucks, but I'm using the old coupler and kind of matching it up to kind of see how I want this to go. Yeah, so I kind of did this to kind of get it to work. So let's see if we can get it in. Right, now let's try this again. Ooh, it's cool, Poppy. All right, like that. Oh, that looks way better. Now hold on. Give me a second here. Throw this coupler in here, like this, like that, and then now we're cooking. Yep, now we're cooking. Okay. This is all just test fitting, by the way. Okay. Yeah, now we're looking good here, you guys. All right, now I'm gonna slide this adapter piece back in and we can start to bolt this up. This is probably when having the aftermarket coupler is probably a better idea, but I mean, they sell an aftermarket vent hose that's probably longer and is better suited for this stuff, but give me a minute. All right, and now just gonna do it like that. There we go. Had to raise my intake up a little bit to help me out, but now we got everything to fit. Holy moly. All right, let's start clamping all this stuff back down. And this is, I'll put this back on later, but this is what we look like here. We got this on, this clamped up here, going up to here. This is clamped on, coming up to here. Make sure this is clamped on. You may have to kind of turn the tube a little bit to make sure that this is all the way on, but now we're all good here. We're gonna get her on, we're gonna start her up. The one thing I do think, to do the throttle body relearn, the battery may have to be warmed up, the engine may have to be warm. I gotta check the instructions, but I'll get back to you. He's not surging or anything. This is a cold start, which is beautiful. And I'm gonna gently close that hood, and from what I can see here, I'm good here. I'm good. If I wasn't, I would probably get a lot of vibrations right there, but I'm not, so stay tuned. And I do want to mention that my idle is actually almost perfect. The only thing I noticed, let's see, is that you see how it drops like that? I mean, that is a known issue that happens when you get a bigger throttle body because the plate is bigger. But for that reason, I'm gonna do the throttle body relearn. That's the only thing that I noticed that throws me off a little bit. Okay, now that the car has some heat into it, what we're gonna do here is I'm gonna turn the car to the on position. I'm gonna wait, I'm gonna count to 3. Then I'm gonna pump the pedal 5 times. Then I'm gonna go up to 15, and I'm gonna use my phone. Give me a second. Okay, so I'm gonna use this. I'm gonna use the timer here. When I turn the car to the on position, I'm gonna wait 3 seconds. Then we're gonna pump the pedal 5 times. We're gonna wait till we get to 15 seconds. Then we're gonna hold the pedal down. So here we go. I'm going to turn the car to the on position now. It's on. I'm gonna count to 1, 2. Oh, turn everything off. Turn all this off. Hold this. That's all off. And my lights, I don't have automatic lights, so they're all off. We're gonna reset now. All right, car's off. Turn it to the on position. And we're gonna do this at 3 seconds. So 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And it's before 8. Now when it hits 15 seconds, we're gonna hold it down. 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. I got my pedal on the floor right now. We should see this start to blink. Okay, and it's starting to blink, and I think we gotta wait till it goes solid. Now it's solid. I take my foot off the accelerator, and we're gonna start her up. Good. Now we're just gonna I'm gonna let it run for about 10 seconds here, and I'm gonna give it a couple blips So like when you blip it, the car will go back down to idle. The car got cold so fast. All right, here we go. Still seem like we might be working here though, so I'm gonna give it some blips. Let's see if she'll come down on her own. The problem where I messed up was I drove the car and I got it warm, but I went inside the house for like an hour. You know, it's cold out here, it's winter time, so I must have dropped down pretty good here. So let's see. I mean, that does complete the procedure, but I think because the engine's so cold right now, it's not gonna go back down to idle. So I'm gonna just drive her around for a little bit, get some heat into her, and make sure that she goes to idle correctly. And when we get off, when we blip the throttle, it doesn't like drop down to like where it'll feel like it wants to stall. Okay, so I'm gonna get right back to you guys. Okay, so I literally drove the car like up the street. The engine's still warm, and as you can see, we're idling at 600 RPM. That's perfect. I wanted to do this because, you know, there's always that 1 in 50 guy. Like, I mean, I put the throttle body on, now my car runs like dookie. But now I'm gonna blip it, and we want to make sure that it doesn't drop below like that last line. And look at that, she caught perfectly. I'm gonna do it again. And she caught perfectly. Before that, I don't know if you guys noticed, but it hit that bottom line, like the car wanted to stall a little bit. So that means we did our idle relearn properly. We're idling perfectly. That's where we need to be at. So this job is good here. We're all good. Thanks for watching, you guys. Till next time. Oh, bye.